Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's Postgraduate Academy Support Group meeting. This week, we have another fantastic topic within our career development theme. Everybody wants to know about what's next, right? Last week, we were speaking about what's happening beyond your postgrad. This week, we'll be speaking more about your career portfolio. And the Student Support Services team will be leading this discussion, along with some guest presenters who might or might not have known that they would be presenting today, I understand. I will just start off again, as I do every meeting, with a general a reminder of the theme and the housekeeping rules for these sessions. These are very, very, very casual, informal sessions within our community aimed at promoting holistic professional development among our postgrads. It's very interactive, so please do raise your hand if you'd like to express yourself. You can use the reaction icons, the emoticons, if you'd like to do that as well. Share your thoughts in the chat box. If you're not comfortable sharing your thoughts in person, non-anonymized, you're welcome to send Sue or myself a direct message, and we will read your message for you if you prefer that way. So I didn't want to take too much time within this little introduction. I'm going to hand right over to Suzanne Stokes from the Student Support Services team, who will now be hosting the session. Hello, Sue.
Hi, Prof. Lenine, and welcome everybody. I'm going to do a quick prelude to the session. So just a quick one. I found a gorgeous quote that kind of, spoke about the power of this career portfolio, and it was written by April Renee, and she's the author of the Harvard Business Review, and she wrote in the ASIN column, practically speaking, a career portfolio typically leads to greater ownership of your career, because unlike a job that someone else gives you and they determine what that scope is and whether you will advance, a portfolio can't simply be taken away. It is yours forever. So I do hope that as we unpack this career portfolio, whether we call it as a resume or an elaborated document, detailed document describing your work experiences, skills, and training, it is yours, and you get to decide what it is that you want to present in this career portfolio. And it serves as a portfolio of evidence of your aptitude for learning, your expertise, your skills. And there are now many new ways in which we can present this. And some of you may have already a LinkedIn account, an academia.edu account, or a researchgate.net account. So our resumes, our portfolios have now really evolved into different types of spaces beyond that traditional CV. And again, yes, Prof. Lenine.
Sorry, can you just remind me, is a resume the same as a CV, the same as a career portfolio?
Well, that's a very good question. So each one will take on a different type of shape and style. So a resume is a summation of a CV, a curriculum vitae, and a curriculum vitae is your traditional document that you would normally write and spell out, where you've got to high school, the kinds of things that you did in your undergrad, and where you spell out every single module and activity you engaged in, as well as your personal statements, achievements, skills, accomplishments. And as we transition into the digital spaces, this is where you get to be a lot more creative and setting up your brand and affiliations and your hopes, aspirations, your advocacies, and it kind of just grows out in that way. So a career portfolio is a combination of that, where you're giving information, you're sharing pertinent information around this field and the scope you want to go into, but through images, videos, podcasts, statements and a whole bunch of text too. So yeah, we've seen, and it's a beautiful question to ask, and we've seen many shifts in portfolios in how we present in our careers. And I think it's now is the most important time, because we've seen that, you know, in unemployment, where we're having to really put ourselves out there. So I'm going to see by Karuna if she would like to share her insights into the career portfolio. Any questions, comments, please do share with us in the chat space. And then we're going to go over to Nonsihlelo, who's going to unpack a little bit more about her journey in establishing her own career portfolio through self-exploration, self-development, and putting herself out there. So ladies, over to you. Very happy to unpack more.
Thank you. Yes, so on the subject of, I have to agree with you. Commonly, Prof. Lenine, we don't use the word resume in South Africa. It's the HR has kind of gone selective on the use of the word. It is generally a one page, and like Sue has just mentioned, it is a summary of your CV. I would commonly advise students, if you're doing a one-page CV, it could be for a part-time job where all of your skills are not necessary. So yeah, if you're an environmental scientist and if you're applying at EDGARS, it is not necessary for you to talk about you know, environmental mapping and all of that, because it's not relevant to that work field. I mean, EDGARS doesn't want to know how to plant trees. So yes, so you shave it off, and then you've got this one-page easy reading document, which America knows as a resume, and then your CV, which is two-page. And I have to actually emphasize 2 pages, because when we apply for work, we're applying in a pool of like 300, 400, sometimes 1,000, 3,000 applicants. If you think about all the universities in South Africa, the reason why 2 pages makes better sense is because it's quicker reading. And yes, it's less of environmental impact if you're doing 10 pages. No, simply stick to 2 pages as a rule, whether you're master's students, whether you're PhD, it can be done. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I see some lovely slides here, so I'm just going to bow out now.
Could I add to that?
Yeah,
So this is a lived experience from me. Very embarrassing, but hey, I like to share my embarrassing stories. So I'd submitted an application for a job a while back, and the only CV that I'd ever learned to write was an academic one. And I am very proud of my academic CV. It is like 40 pages long. It folds with my publications, my conferences, students, and everything that I've done within my academic journey is within this CV. So I use that CV to apply for a position somewhere. And the turnaround time from a yes, please, can I have your CV, to a absolutely no, you can't work for us, was within a day. And I went to my mentor and I said, but what did I do wrong? She said, how long was your CV? Was it tailored to what they were looking for? Can you condense it to just 2 pages? Maybe throw in a picture here, a picture there, and get it more interactive. And yeah, that was the way to go. Let me tell you now. So I'm just sharing my little nugget of the difference between a CV and a resume, and how it can be changed to work for you, and how it can also work against you if you do not tailor it effectively.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're touched on such an important point. Like, we also don't want to overwhelm the people that we're, you know, applying to, but we also want them to see, you know, the gem that you are, what makes you unique. So when you have a concise profile or a portfolio, it helps them to really identify those key, you know, qualities and traits and soft skills that they're really looking out for. I've written here that, setting up a career portfolio will encourage a journey of self-awareness and discovery, and where you get to learn a lot about your strengths and weaknesses, areas for development, and how you can showcase those. So if you haven't applied for anything yet, go and go on that journey like Prof. Lenine has gone, like to figure out how to do it, how to put yourself out there, and to be vulnerable and be open for criticism. Because putting yourself out there for a job, especially a job interview, and they say, sorry, we don't need you. It's hard to receive and hard to accept, but it speaks to, an attitude, like, it's okay, I've got this. It was not meant for me. Something better is out there, or that company was not meant to have me. I'm destined for greater things. So it's kind of like encouraging that kind of inner talk, to kind of shift that experience, and to say, you know what, maybe there is things that I need to develop and grow, and putting that as part of your career plan. So I just want to quickly hop on to just a few things, and Karuna, please do interject. I just want to quickly mention a few things on, the soft skills that employers are looking for. And there was a study done where they looked at the young graduates, and they were wanting them to have these well-rounded sense of self, to display a range of the graduate employability skills, and to adapt to constant change. And I'm thinking that's such a common theme right now in the last 4 years. And in this study, her results displayed positive multivariable relationships. So that means, like graduate employability capacities contributed the most in career adaptability, more than self-esteem. So they wanted unique certain skills that is stronger than your self-esteem, but developing your self-esteem is needed to adapt to the transitioning world of work. So, finding that balance between self-development and adapting to transitioning career or workplace. So she found that it is so important to consider your self-esteem, your self-worth, and confidence in training and development. So I do hope that with the talks that we have today kind of give you ideas around, okay, what type of training program can I go and enroll in that would give me that range of self-awareness, career knowledge, and the ability to make career decisions, and integrating yourself into the field or the work environments that Karuna spoke about last week. So this is just a slide showing those 10 skills that is needed, or that is sought after, by the workplace. So it's quite interesting, and it's in 4 categories. There's problem-solving skills, self-management, managing yourself, and I'm brought to think about the emotional intelligence development areas, and working with people and using technology. So and I'm always reminded of, what will the next 10 years expect or need from us if these are the current graduate attributes? So find yourself as part of your career plan, considering further development activities, skill development, allowing yourself to develop those attributes that will keep you in demand in the next 10 years. So when you're creating that career plan, slot that in. I do have tons of talking points that I do want to share with you, but I am mindful that what is more important is listening to the journey of Nontsikelelo. So Nontsikelelo, I'm going to hand over to you so we can hear you and your self-exploration journey and where you are currently. Over to you.
Thank you, Susan. Good afternoon, everyone. I will just share my screen because I do have a few slides. Okay. Yes, so I will get right into it. I'll just take a few minutes to kind of share some of the important information that I learned during an Exploring a Career Potential course, which I was fortunate enough to attend last year. So, but I think before getting into the content of my slides, it's important to kind of acknowledge the fact that it's very important for a whole lot of people, especially students or people who are in the early stages of their careers, to kind of be in a position where you do not have everything figured out. And I would like to really appreciate the postgraduate student support group for hosting such conversations where we're able to discuss these things and discuss career portfolios and how to actually be prepared or to better prepare and take control of our futures. So one thing for sure that I personally think is important to consider as far as careers or career planning and portfolios are concerned is the fact that to be successful in any career, be it a career in academia or in industry, you need to carefully plan for that career to succeed. So the question usually is, how do we go about planning for our careers? So I'll just briefly share a few tips that I learned and that I think are useful when exploring your career potential or planning for your career. So the first step is self-assessment. So the self-assessment is something that many individuals often neglect when exploring career options because when it's actually a vital component of the effective career development. So this actually means that the better we understand ourselves, the better choices we can make when planning for our career paths. So there are 4 main areas of self-assessment in relation to career development that we explored. And these are your values, your qualities, your skills, as well as your interests. So I'm not going to get into the details of all of these, but it's important when planning a career to take them all into consideration because, for example, when looking at values, chances are you will likely do well and be happier in a work environment that is aligned with your values, and conversely, you are not going to do well or be happy in a position that it does not align or match with your values. So the next example would be to understanding your skills, which helps you identify suitability for potential roles and possible career paths. So the same thing applies to your qualities and interests. So the more your career path is related to what interests you as a person and is aligned to your qualities, the chances are you'll flourish in that position. So understanding these things about yourself puts you in a position of awareness, which is a very good place to be when planning a career. So these 4 things can be collectively referred to as your personal profile, which you can use when writing a CV, deciding which positions to apply for, or even when preparing for interviews. So the second tip to planning your career is to have an open mindset. So whether you're interested in a career, in an academic career or a non-academic career, it's very important to have an open mindset regarding the available opportunities in the job market and what those choices mean in relation to the skills that you choose to acquire or have acquired already. So I think we can kind of all agree that the workforce and people's career journeys have drastically changed. So for example, back then, a person will find a job and they will remain in it until they retire. But now it's estimated that young adults will have at least 3 career changes in their lifetime. So not only are our jobs and our careers changing, but also even the job security itself has changed. And I mean, it's now not very hard to find full-time permanent positions, and this requires someone who's able to navigate through these situations. And to be successful in the new world of work, one has to be able to constantly assess themselves and the environments that they're in. So the environments that may have worked for you last year might not be the same environment that will work for you next year. And you need to be someone who's able to assess these things and be open-minded to change, to growth, as well as to evolving. And doing all this, keeping in mind that it's your career. So it's completely up to you what you decide to do with this. So this brings me to my next point, which actually talks about being an active manager of your career. So this being an active manager of your career comes after you're a little bit more aware of yourself in terms of the things that I was talking about earlier, your likes, your skills, your interests. You basically have your career profile now, and you understand and a little bit more aware of yourself. So I'll just discuss 3 things that can be implemented to ensure that that one can actually implement to ensure that you are actively managing your career development. So this would be creating opportunities, conducting informational interviews, as well as having a career management system. So the first one that I'll discuss is creating opportunities, or you can call it networking. So how do you go about creating these opportunities? So firstly, this could be through building your own marketing campaign and being in a position where you consider yourself as a product that is being marketed and you can effectively sell yourself to the market. So your CV, your online profile, the way that you interact with others, they all need to sell the good things about yourself. So secondly, do not doubt that you have something to offer. And this doesn't just end with you knowing that you have something to offer, but also being able to communicate this effectively with people. And lastly, being able to identify these opportunities. So one good example of finding these would be maybe at conferences. So you'll find more opportunities through networking and talking to people. And this is something that is not easy for most people, but this method of identifying opportunities is actually called the hidden job market. So where most jobs now are not advertised and people get these opportunities through talking to people and engaging to people who might offer or expose them to different career options. The second way that you can manage your career or take an active role in managing your career is through conducting informational interviews. So informational interviews are conversations, can be face-to-face or online, in which you can seek advice about the industry or the career of a potential future workplace. So you can think of these as reverse interviews, where you're interviewing someone about their role to help you decide on whether or not you would want to follow a similar approach. And these are different from job interviews in that the interview is initiated by you and not the contact, and the conversation is not about hiring, but rather just you asking general questions to kind of learn about the person's career story, the industry that they're in, and maybe even the challenges that are common in that career field to make you a little bit more aware of what to expect in that specific career field. And of course, there are a lot of benefits that are associated with conducting informational interviews. So I'm just going to mention a few here, which include finding out about careers that you didn't even know existed. And also it enables you to learn about the career trajectories of people who are also working in the same field. So you also have an opportunity to get first-hand information about the realities of working within a particular field, and some of the information you can't get online, which adds value to having this kind of conversation with these people. And you also get tips and insider knowledge about how to prepare for and land your career position. And lastly, having these conversations with the person, they get to know you as well. And in that way, you're able to build further connections with those people, which might be useful in the future if you decide that this is the career path that you would want to pursue for yourself. The last tip that I'll talk about through which you can effectively manage your career is by actually developing a career management system. So this is sort of like a private, organized online system for maintaining a record of your skills, your experiences, your relevant artifacts over time. So this is like a system of documents and files that you create, and it enables you to easily create customized job applications. So it's important to have such a system where you can kind of keep track of all of the things that you've done, your certificates, your experiences are stored, because we don't always update our CVs. So this kind of makes it easier to remember and to edit quickly when you need to, and you urgently need to submit that CV. So a standard career management system would have 3 elements. So you'd have a master CV. So this is where you can keep a record of all of your qualifications, your work history, your presentations. And this is generally not the one that you would provide for a job, but you can just use to keep a record of all of your things. And then the second component of your career management system would be a skills matrix. So all jobs, whether it's academic or non-academic, they require certain skills. And these skills could either be your transferable skills or your technical skills. So with skills as well, it's nice to kind of have a running record of them, as it may be difficult to remember over time. So we learned that you can do this using a skills matrix, which is basically just a table with all of the information regarding the skills that you've acquired over time, to kind of make it easy for you to look back and remind yourselves of all of the skills that you've acquired over your journey. And it is also recommended that in addition to capturing the contents of your career skills and experiences, storing visual samples of your work could also be useful. So this is where artifacts get in. So this could be things like your photos of you presenting your work, photos of products that you've developed, maybe if you are in that business, or pictures of you in the lab, your samples, all of those things to kind of have a record of them. So putting these things in place could really help in ensuring that we're taking an active role in managing our careers, and that there's advancement in our career development. Yes, that brings me to the end of my small talk.
Can I please ask, Nontsikelelo, that you share these slides with me, because to share with the community. I stopped taking screenshots because there's just no more space on my desktop, all these screenshots. So if anybody else would like it, I'm happy to share it on, if Nontsikelelo agrees.
Yes, I'll definitely be sharing with
you. Thank you. Listen, this management system, sorry, so I'm very curious about this management system, because goodness knows I need it. And what I found for me, I depend heavily on my calendar whenever it's time to submit a report, or I'm trying to get a raise from my supervisor. I need to be able to list what I have done in the year, and I actually do not have an organized management system. I go straight to my calendar and I'll remember, oh, I talked about this on that month, or I presented that in that month, and that's it. I don't think that's enough for me. It's good to add, but I'm so glad that you mentioned this concept of an organized management system for everything that you do, so that you don't forget about it, and to keep track of your skills every time you're doing something that contributes to your academic and your professional development. That's amazing. My world is shaking at the moment. Thank you for that.
I also agree, and I'm just taking a moment to think. I've started, I think because of last year's one, I started a little folder called Professional Me. So after every presentation that I joined or something, I make like 2 or 3 slides of like what resonated with me, or what I'm committing to change. And as you spoke about that calendar, I was thinking, oh yes, I need to actually start adding this to my list of things that I'm actually doing, because it becomes your evidence. And I found this beautiful image or quote, and I'm just going to quickly screen share before I hand over to Karuna. And it spoke about creating your brand, and the quote was, tell your audience why you're the right person to work with. And there you have your portfolio. You just unpack it. You just open up this virtual drive and say, well, this is me, and this is why I'm the right person for you. So I'm going to hand over to Karuna. Karuna, over to you.
Thank you, Sue. And Nontsikelelo, that was brilliant. It was so nice and comprehensive, and thank you for covering all of the aspects, which Sue and I, we pretty much have the same content. So you stole the show, so thank you very much for doing that. With regards to your statement or your quotation, that statement is the very foundation of your CV. It really should inform the rest of how you do your CV. So I'm going to share some slides with you. I'm going to skip a lot because it might serve as a repetition. Let's just share screen here. So we're on the subject of a career portfolio. Please let me know if you can see this. Are we good?
It's still coming up.
Okay.
There we go. So you'll just need to make it a slideshow.
Okay, good. So here we are. Yeah, and we have been talking about a career portfolio. You already know what the difference is because we've learned this very early in the session as to what a career portfolio is. So today what I will be talking to you about is a little bit about portfolio that you haven't already heard, steps in developing your portfolio, what a physical and electronic portfolio would kind of look like. Obviously, everybody has their own interpretation of what it should look like. But if you're wondering, how am I going to arrange this information, I do have some images that may assist you to show you what it would look like online or, a physical hard copy of it, and the sources where you can actually create a portfolio. So, the portfolio is your comprehensive system, but it's methodical. So you go in sections. It is a compilation of your life's work. So it's a little bit more in depth than your CV is. It's sort of your little book. It's your biography, and it's an academic and your work history source of information, which nicely summarizes everything that you've collected. So I've dubbed it a container. It's a collection of pieces of work. We call them artifacts as well. And it is a tool that you'd use to communicate your expertise. Now, very often, and simply because it looks so bougie, one may think that it's reserved for an executive, walking around with a fancy portfolio. But that's not necessarily true because it looks very professional. And for those of us that are in the session right now, you may think about an instance where you went for an interview and you took in some documents with you. So yeah, just if I could hear from you, what was in that little thing you carried in your hand when you went into the interview? If I could hear from you.
So I think in the absence of any,
Good
I saw
morning.
Andre. Andre, go
Okay.
for it.
Yes, I remember for me, had quite a bit. Of course, a copy of my application letter, copies of my certificate, CV that I would have submitted, and little notes about myself, things that I would have, notes that I would have, things I haven't thought but put on paper that, should they ask me any question, I can maybe quickly remind myself about a few things about myself that great accomplishments, being involved in team sports, etc., other things, and small little nuggets, things to remind me, encourage me, in respect of the interview, how to keep my posture, how to be clear in articulation and so on. So those little things.
Wonderful, wonderful, Andre. I would have loved to have seen what yours looked like, but I'm listening to see yours is unique now because I would have never thought to put in little motivation pieces and wow, this is what it is.
Well,
this
it's not an official. I wouldn't call it well. I mean, I call it it's not a portfolio in the orthodox sense, if you may.
It's a bit sensitive because this is where the subject of a portfolio comes about, and the very essence of this entire conversation today. Since everyone is so unique, should then your portfolio not resemble or reflect who you are in your uniqueness? Now, you've mentioned that, like I said, and I don't know, I'm not one to stick in those motivations, and I would think yours is fascinating because you're reminding yourself that this is where you're at, and this is where you want to be. And brilliant. Thank you for mentioning that, Andre. It's so important that you gave it your own flavor. Are we still there? Am I still here?
Yes, we still
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Please come in.
Thank you. Thank
What
you.
about
Thank
those
you.
virtual
Mm.
the virtual interviews? I mean, that's where you have another screen open with 10 million pieces of information just in case, you know?
Just in case, just in case, just in case. Now, yes, that's true. Absolutely. But look, I would think it's we have to walk in with something, right? It's been done for like what, the past 50 years, where you walk into an interview room with something in your hand, not just your handbag, or in the case of gents, probably just a cell phone or something. And very often the interviewers don't want to look at it. So you leave the interview with it as well, having put together something. But given the way technology and all of our beautiful equipment has come out, you know, the printing and the images and all of these lovely things that 4IR has presented us with, it seems that portfolios have evolved in their appearance. So gone are the days where we slip it into plastic folders and you know, carry it around with us, or it just looks like it's gone up a few notches by virtue of what I've seen online. So if I could just skip to that, maybe let's just do that. So essentially what happens in a portfolio is that there is a little bit of an order. So you know, you have your step one, which is where you introduce yourself. So this is the warmth element in your entire personality. It comes through who you are, what motivates you to study. The very essence of your being is summarized in these pages. On the first page, so that's your introduction. You also curating your skills. So now this is what Prof. Lineen said, and I would encourage that you keep a weekly diary and call it your learning diary. Every new skill that you've learned, a piece of software or some new training or anything, like I keep a logbook right now because I have to, as part of my practicum training. Maybe it should become something for everyone as well, where you keep a logbook of learning. And so that you don't forget, because I promise you, if I ask you, okay, tell me what you did in your third year, second semester, can anybody remember? What did you learn that was groundbreaking for you? Too long. So if you're taking this long to answer me, it means you've forgotten.
I can check my calendar.
You see, Prof, this isn't about curating your skills. If we take ownership, and this is a big thing as well, if we internalize the skills we have, they become our pitch, they become our confidence in that interview. Interviewers are able to tell when we're telling the truth because of the pitch of our voice. When we lie, we drop an octave. And when we are telling the truth, like I am right now with great conviction, telling you what I believe in, it's because I own it. So when you declare that you have mastery over a skill, you own that skill, and nobody is going to deny you that skill when you sit there for that interview. So declaring it means you own it. I would invite strongly that you do so this week, today even. Just audit what you've done in the past 6 months, and you will come, you'll find that you've forgotten most of it. Excuse me. So do curate your skills, right? Anything that makes you an award that you won, Employee of the Month, put it down, because it defines you. It really, your career portfolio now is going to start to look as unique as you are. Now, artifacts. Now, these are all the samples that you have. Now, as researchers, as scientists, you have a lot of work samples. You've got a lot of projects that you're working in, photos of your involvement, maybe of the venue or the site that you're on. Put it in. And you know, in terms of how you're going to arrange it, that will depend entirely on you. You can scan these documents, put it into, you can use Publish, you can use Canva, you can use any kind of software that you want to nicely embed it onto a slide or a sheet. But do make high gloss copies and things of your documents. Excuse me. Excuse me. So your work samples, what can they include? It's your presentations, like this, which I'm doing with you right now. I may very well submit towards my logbook, your journal articles that you've contributed to in any capacity, proposal, grant writing, and that's a big part of an academic's life, especially PhD, where you have to request grant. So yes, do put that down. You've requested this. Any kind of informal writing that you would have done, your project summaries, pictures or newspaper articles that celebrate your work. So yes, I know UKZN and Dalba's got a lot of articles. Maybe you can just, take out a piece from there and put it into your career portfolio. Anything that enhances and makes you look really good. Remember, when you reflect on these things, it's also a way to remind you that the work that you're doing is turning. It's a way of celebrating your own skill set. And sometimes when life gets a bit hectic, we tend to forget what our contribution is. Colleagues, while I'm on this note, and we have not done this workshop with you yet, and it is already 1:15, but I feel that this must be said to you. This is an example of a PhD's CV. Now, I wrote this for UKZN simply because I was told it cannot be done in 2 pages. So I said it can be done, and it can be done. So if you look at the first page, and I'm just going to go in there, there are a few things that I want to bring to your attention regarding a CV. In 2 lines, Mr. John Black has summarized for us his name, his address, all out of the way. This no longer needs to take up 5 lines like traditionally does in most older fashioned CVs. You can now condense it into 2 lines. His profile tells us really quite straight to the point, succinct use of words, motivated PhD. Look at all the instrumentation he's familiar with. He has these computer skills. He puts it in the first 5 lines. So there's no guessing game. I don't have to read his hidden messages. He is not driving HR crazy. He has declared it off the bat. This is what he can do. Your personal profile can look a little different in that it can summarize your goal and your vision, or it can just say quite simply, PhD in research in pathology of some sort or the other. But remember, every profession has its jargon, it has its tools. In his case, he's declared what they are. Excuse me. If we go, in John Black's case, he's selling his PhD. This is his strongest marketing right now, his education. When he works for 5 years, the PhD will go slightly down the line, and he'll be selling his skill as opposed to his degree. But for a university graduate, your degree is your biggest selling point right now. Please note how he has captured his experience. He's proposed, he's used action verbs, he's proposed, he's revived, he's derived, he's established. Remember, when you are designing your CV, they want to know what they can gain from you. They want a pound of your flesh. Nobody's hiring us because we look nice or we sound nice. They're hiring us because they want their value from us. If you can tell them what you've proposed, you've created, you've derived, you've established, you can convince them that you have moved apart, you are capable of moving a portfolio in a different direction. Remember, work is just designed. When you shifted your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, you are growing a portfolio, and you can only do it by being innovative, by establishing new systems and bringing growth to it. So the question I ask you is, what did you create? What new and innovative did you do that employer needs to know about? This is how you declare it. By the use of action verbs, you've demonstrated, you've contributed, you've collaborated, any kind of word that shows them your value add. Here, John Black has formulated a model, and that's great. I'm assuming he's going into an academic lifestyle. All of these things are wonderful and will serve the academic portfolio. And so he's participated also in discovery of some kind of paper. Wonderful. He's then listed his publications, his activities. Note that his hobbies and activities also feed into his line of work. And colleagues, please, no eating, drinking, and reading, because incidentally, 8 billion people also do that. You need to remember your activities must make you stand out, unique. How does it define who you are? So let's not make reference to that, which everybody else does as well. If you can't come up with one, leave it out. Your references would be 3 of you are 2 professional and 1 personal, or all 3 professional is preferred. Okay, let's go back. I have for you another one, also rules. I just want to talk about this quickly because, like I said, we've not done this. Oh dear. Okay. Glitchy system there. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah Linda Parker is a new graduate, and the reason why I came up with this is because students said, we do not know how to do a CV because we're very new, we don't have working experience, and that's fine. Please note, this is what you have. This is what Sarah has in her possession. She's introduced herself as a microbiology and genetics student, so we know what she's doing as her majors. She's listed her subjects. Please note, very, very important, practical skills gained during degree. Now, this is stuff that's inside of her degree. It's her skills. We cannot negotiate this. She owns this, right? She knows how to conduct these experiments. If I put Sarah into a lab, I know that she can actually hit the ground running simply because she's declared it. I know what she can do, and this is the way you tell the reader what you can and cannot. No, we never discuss what we cannot do. We always declare what we can do. So in her case, she can do all of these wonderful things in the lab. In addition to what she's learned, communication skills and teamwork from being in groups. Now, you also are working in groups, you're working in hospitals, you're working with teams. What skills can you extract from there? You might have learned negotiation skills or managing diversity. Whatever skills, extract. Start thinking about what skills you've learned just from being in a group. Time management, and additional achievements. It seems like I'm whizzing through this, and I am, because I know that you have to leave at 4:30. Sylvester Sloan is also a new graduate. He's told us off the cuff what he can do in terms of his computer skills. Please note his experience. He's only got 3 months of experience, but please note the way he's captured it. He's, again, use of action verbs. He's provided, he's performed, he's assisted in checking, he's done good things. In 3 months, he's also quantified. You see here? He's added a numerical value. Now, companies understand numbers and increases and budgets, so they respond and gravitate well to the use of numbers. If you were to say you conducted the same experiment on 5, 15, or 16, 18, 20, 100 subjects, please put the numbers down. If you said you had a job in McDonald's and you had to attend to 160 clients in 1 hour, put those numbers down. Add a numerical value to your work. You're quantifying it. I hope that makes sense. And if you have any questions, please do ask them. I will give you these slides so you can make use of them if you need them to redesign. And the reason why I brought the CV up is simply because this now actually goes into your career portfolio. And your cover letter, there's some rules. Your first paragraph, and I'm just going to briefly go, is your introduction. Your second paragraph is what I call the suck-up paragraph. You're building rapport with the company, the organization, you're telling them wonderful things about themselves. You're showing them that you've done your homework, you've done your research on their company, and you really, really want to work for them and be with them. Remember, they gravitate well towards brand loyalty. So if you were to sell the brand high, you would hold yourself in good stead in the second paragraph. If you know any names of people that work there, you're dropping some names, you're building further rapport with them. Paragraph 3 is dealing with how you fit into the organization. So what you're saying is that, yes, I recognize that you need these, you require these. I believe I work well, will work. Oh gosh, man, I'm talking. Oh dear, let me take a moment. Yes, so paragraph 3 is dealing with why you belong in that organization. So you will substantiate with evidence why you think you can work well with them. And it's important to substantiate what you're saying. So you're not going to say that I know how to file. You're going to say, learned how to file in a particular fashion, classified in this. So in other words, substantiate what you're saying. Don't just make statements about it, because in an interview, you will be asked about these things. Excuse me. Right, so back to your portfolio. Your page 1 is your cover page. Now, I just took this from the internet. It is some, the cover page of your portfolio. And then your page 2 is your personal summary. Your page 2, sorry, is your philosophy and goals. Page 3 is your summary. Page 4 onwards is your whole academic and your work and your personal interests and everything that supports you as a professional. Now, what I've suggested is that you use some kind of software, either Canva or Design, or you could use Adobe. Even WordPerfect would work to scan your documents, to place it in, some printed backgrounds, some printed paper, and then you can have it printed from either the post office or a printer, but not a publisher, because publishers don't print less than a certain number, and you'd be spending a lot of money for a document that's going to change, say, every 2 or 3 years, depending on how you upskill, which is essential these days. So if you go to some websites, there's I've given you about 5 towards the end of this presentation. They do have a hosting fee where you have to pay 150 Rand roughly. It's in dollars. I would not suggest you do that if you don't have the money. If you do have the money, please, by all means, do. I just think it's very, very expensive. For us, it would work out to about 700 Rand per year to host you. Whereas that could easily be done on different portfolios like LinkedIn or Instagram even. If you use one of the career portfolios, you will have to register a domain, and then it'll be like karuna@karunamahadev.com, depending on whatever domain it is that's available. Now, this is what one that's published. This is a professional document. If you're wondering how it's going to look, your cover page, page 2. Now, this is an A5, I think. And he's got his picture, he's got a little bit about him. This is really very fancy and would cost a lot of money if you were having it professionally printed. But it does look very, very professional. I don't know if you'll agree with me. And that's an indication of he's put in images. You can put in images that are relevant to your work, especially in the field of science. You can put in instruments, a telescope, or something that speaks to your career. Now, because we are in the FOP-IR, this is something that I would encourage you create for your LinkedIn profile. And you can put it, if you want to put it on Facebook, put it. By all means, you're celebrating your accomplishments. This is what a virtual portfolio would look like. So this has been borrowed from the internet, and I just wanted to show to you, this is what it would look like if you went to one of the websites and created one, whereas you can easily do this on PowerPoint or Prezi. Now, remember, it's a synopsis. It's not as detailed as your CV. It's a summary, but beautifully and colorfully and very vibrantly presented in the form of something easy to read. So this person's got an agenda. You can have an agenda as well. So basically, it gives everyone an indication of what they're going to find in this portfolio. And you can be as creative as you want to, because this is a synopsis of your skills. Career pathing. This is excellent if you just want to do a quick overview of where you've been in the past 5 years, the companies that you've been for, the organizations, and you can even map into it your learning that's come, because it's your roadmap. Professional qualifications. This is a separate place now where you put in all your qualifications, and so your portfolio must be divided into pieces, and then it allows for you to arrange your information in a logical fashion without confusing anyone. Activities. These are achievements that you can put in, and it can be your personal achievements as well as your professional achievements. Training. Training is its own separate slide here. And what I love about these slides here is that it gives you ideas on how you can build your portfolio. And this is nice because this is a step aside from the specific training that you would have done to be where you're at. Projects, any projects that you've been involved in, it's just a lovely synopsis of what you've done. Your case studies, if you've had, if you're changing policies, if you've worked on a complicated case, what was the challenge solution? Remember, it's one of your interview questions as well. It's a behavior-based question type that you could easily answer in your portfolio or whilst doing this presentation. and your skill set. And this could be anything. You could have over 20 skills, both from your soft skills to your technical skills, and then the websites that actually host you for a sum of money. So I hope that actually helps you. That concludes this presentation from my side, and I will share the slides with you.
Thank you. Oh
So-
my goodness. Yes, Lenine, I'm blown away. Karuna, I would like to have my portfolio printed and put there in the waiting room so everybody can see where I've been, where I'm going, and what makes me unique.
Well, listening to your presentation now, I was thinking of, you go to these professors inaugural lectures, and they speak about, the entire life's work. And, you need to start doing that now. Otherwise, you're going to forget these things. I'm sitting here planning my lecture one day, and I'm going to have to do it with that virtual background. I love it. I love it. Thank you. We need one of those for life as well, not just
True. Yeah, true. After working with it, I saw exactly how much work each and every person is capable of bringing through that portfolio. It really is so unique. And we did hear from Andre as well that he put little motivation pieces in. Imagine if Andre presented it the way that this professional portfolio was. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm
thank
thinking,
you.
Karina, I'm also thinking, recruiters in HR do want to actually want to get to know you. They ask you, in these interviews, in your applications, tell us about you. So it's kind of like, well, get to know me. And I love that. And I want to use Andre's word, give them nuggets.
Yes, beautiful.
I think we need a recruiter actually to host a couple of recruiters to host a session over here, just to give us additional inside bits about what they like, what they don't like, how to make things easier. As I was reflecting, as you were busy discussing how best to craft your portfolio, was how much time this actually takes. And yes, it does take a lot of time, but if you do it consistently, as you live, every time you do something of value to your journey, is to just do it then and not later. That's why I'm sitting in the problem that I'm thinking I need a career portfolio, but there's so much effort. So now all you youngins sitting here within this room, please, now's the time to start rather than, I wish I started it in the beginning of my journey. Do it now. And it seems like there are so many tools available out there to be able to do it and do it quicker. I'm pretty sure there might even be some AI where you can stick in your current CV and tell it, I want a career portfolio, please make it pretty or something. Oh my God, this is being recorded. Well, maybe it's out there.
What I love about AI is it gives you the foundation. You still want to share your unique self.
Yes, that's right. Let's not all get lazy. That was fantastic. Oh my goodness. And we are on time today. My word. So this career development session has really been so amazing, jam-packed with so much wonderful information. I'm done with my screen clippings. I'm going to rather just ask that the presenters, please, both of you, Karuna, thank you, you as well, please, can you share your slides so I can share it with everyone else? And do let us know when you're going to be having that workshop on the CVs and the CVs that write in the cover letter, because that was amazing. And I feel like I needed that information at the beginning of my journey. And it is still relevant today because I'm constantly revising what else should I be adding, should I be doing? Am I happy? Am I accomplished enough? Is there something I need more along my journey? Let's go, let's revisit. And you'll still need to write a cover letter. You'll still need to keep your career portfolio up to date, managed it, organized. Does anybody in the community have any additional questions or comments about the content? I feel like I've hogged the session. I really got a lot out of it, and I'm hoping that if I did, you did too. We have a minute or so for any last minute questions or points for clarity.
So I think while we're waiting for the last few questions, there's comments saying a wonderful session, presentation, informative, and tons of thanks and appreciation.
Yeah, and I think I don't see any indication of any questions. So let me just remind everybody what is on for next week's session. You've heard the word networking a couple of times during this the seminar post on my mind. And that's what we'll be discussing our next week's session, how to market yourself in person or virtually, what sort of personal development aspects need to be involved in this networking, how in order to do networking well. Learning more about presentation skills. There's a whole list of how-tos that I wish I knew back then and even now about networking and how to do it well. And Sue and the SSS team, and who else? Do you have anyone who will be presenting in next week?
Yes,
Sue?
so we will be having Ms. Christy Greener and Nandi and Shangazi, who's going to be hosting next week.
And we're all going to become network fundies, and we're going to apply it into our daily life and professional life and everywhere. Thank you very much to the SSS team. Karuna and Nonsikelelo, thank you for all you've contributed today. And I look forward to our next session within this career development block. See you next week. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.